Hi, everybody. Welcome back inside the CrossFit Update Studios. Sean Woodland, Roy McKernan, and Tommy Marquez breaking down the women's side of the 2018 Reebok CrossFit Games as we are now a week away from things getting underway in Madison, Wisconsin. And the women's competition is the can't-miss competition. If you're in Madison for this one, get to your seat early. Make sure you have all your snacks. You're not going to want to leave because odds are this thing comes down to the final event.
Right. I don't want to say that it's the opposite of the men's competition, but it's going to be different in so many ways where you've got arguably 10 athletes you can make a case for getting to the podium, and it's going to be a close finish. And for the past 4 years, actually, we've seen just a battle to the end.
Yeah, speaking of close finishes, last year they gave us the best finish in CrossFit Games history. 9 of those 10 women from the top 10 are back this year. As far as I can tell, there's no major hangups for any of those athletes in terms of injuries. So get to your seat early, like Sean said, get yourself a fit aid, put your seatbelt on because it's going to be wild.
Let's remind everybody where we finished last year. Here are the top 5 women from 2017. Of course, Tia Toomey winning her first CrossFit Games. Saunders and Thorisdottir on the podium with her, and then the other 2 Dottirs in 4th and in 5th. And you can make a legitimate case this year for any of those 5 women to win the CrossFit Games. So let's go through each of them. We'll start with Tia Toomey. Why can she repeat as champion?
Well, let's just look at what Tia's done in the last couple years, because being a champion is one thing, but repeating as champion is a completely different thing altogether. She is now an Olympian. She has a gold medal from the Commonwealth Games, and I think that all of those accolades coming together, her head is probably stronger than ever.
And at the Games, after winning the Run Swim Run event, she showed that she can lead from the front, which is very similar to the pressure she's going to feel being the top dog in the reigning champ coming into this year.
Cara Saunders, 2nd last year. She is looking to get herself on top of the CrossFit Games podium for the first time in her career.
There has never been a lack of desire for Cara Saunders, but I think arguably more now than ever after such a close feeling, after almost touching the sun last year. She's got that desire met with changing the factors in her lifestyle that are going to help her get to the podium.
And last year at the Games was really the first year that she had all the variables in her personal life down pat. So another year of that on top of having a solid training camp behind her. I think the sky's the limit for her.
Annie Thorisdottir, 3rd last year, back on the podium when we thought maybe her best years were behind her, looking for her 3rd career CrossFit Games championship.
Yeah, just when you thought maybe that her best years were behind her, and now Annie goes back and she's back to gold medal status at the Europe Regional. She looks to be actually gaining momentum as opposed to losing it.
The most iconic woman in our sport. She has finished on every single different spot, 1st through 3rd on the podium. At this point, there's nothing she can't do, so another championship wouldn't be out of the realm.
Sarah Sigmundsdottir is making her 4th appearance at the CrossFit Games. She's been 3rd twice, 4th last year. Why do you think she has a chance now to get herself to the top of the podium?
Look, capacity has never been the problem for Sarah. In year 1, we saw that. It's always been seemingly her lack of being able to get the mental game fully together. She's made changes. She's changed the coaches in her corner, and it looks like this year, if ever, is her opportunity.
No one's doubting her raw ability, right? And even with a step back last year in terms of placement, she still was wearing the white leaders jersey at one point during the weekend. So if this is the right system for her, you know just on capacity alone she can be at the top. So hopefully she can seal the deal.
And finally, Katrin Davidsdottir, who came into the Games last year looking to make history, become the first woman to win 3 straight for that matter, finishes 5th. Disappointing for her, but seems like she's a much different athlete here in 2018.
Yeah, we saw at regionals that Katrin is on an absolute tear and taking no prisoners. I think that if 5th place is a disappointment for you, that's an indication of how strong of an athlete you are. She's always been a mental monster, but said last year she pulled back too much. So look for an aggressive Katrin Davidsdottir taking chances, which is a dangerous Katrin Davidsdottir.
I think Katrin operates best and is at her best with the chip on her shoulder, something she was missing last year after 2 straight titles. Having a less than stellar performance in her mind as a 5th at the Games puts that chip back on her shoulder, reignites that fire in her belly, and she's already shown what she can do at regionals with that back.
Those are the 5 that are getting all the attention as far as the talk of who is going to win the CrossFit Games is concerned. But there are plenty of other women who come in with a legitimate shot of not only getting on the podium, but possibly winning the whole thing. Who are some people outside of the 5 we just talked to who have a legitimate chance of doing just that?
You know, there's been a lot of talk, at least in the early season, about Brooke Wells being the USA's best chance of get home a gold medal at the CrossFit Games. I disagree. I think that name is actually Tennille Burline. Tennille did fantastic. I'm not going to make any excuses for her or for anybody at the South for that region for their regional performances and numbers being smaller there. But if you've got a minute, go read Brandon Luckett's response to that actually and how the altitude affected competition. It's totally worth the read. But put all that aside, because all that matters now is the CrossFit Games. And last year, Tennille did tremendous. Behind all the names that we just mentioned, she was the one that surprised everyone. And the director of the CrossFit Games, Dave Castro, has hinted at the fact that we're spending a lot of time outside once we get to Madison. Now, outside last year, 7th place in the cyclocross was Tennille's worst finish. Other than that, it was all top 5s if we were outside of the Coliseum. So keep that in mind. That bodes very well for her heading into Madison.
Well, there's another American woman right now that is absolutely on fire in 2018, and that's Cassidy Mcwhorter. She wins the Open, won the Atlantic Regional, and barring any setbacks is on pace for her best finish ever at the CrossFit Games. There's not a single woman in 2018 that can say they've beaten her thus far in CrossFit Games competition. If you take a look at all the different times that a woman has won both the Open and her regional competition, the average finish at the Games is 7th. That would be a career best for her. If you take out any Thorisdottir in 2015 when she had to withdraw due to the heat injury, then that average finish jumps up to 3rd,
Wow.
meaning all those other times they've at least finished on the podium. 3 times a woman has gone on to win and sweep the season as well. So right now, Cassidy has a ton of momentum, and I think she's poised for a fantastic weekend in Madison.
That would make me happy.
Yeah, that would be great. Everybody we've talked about, though, is a veteran. Let's throw some talented rookies into the mix here because we were impressed by some of the women we saw in regionals who will be making their first appearances at the CrossFit Games. Amanda Barnhart, who finished 3rd in the Central, and Laura Horvath, who is 2nd in Europe. Those are the 2 that are getting the majority of the attention as we head to Madison, Wisconsin. What do you like about each of them?
There's a few things I like about Amanda Barnhart. Right now, she is basically my dark horse rookie pick to be inside the top 10. Only 4 women at regionals were able to walk away with 3 event wins in their competition. That was Jamie Green in the Meridian, Tia Toomey down in the Pacific, and then Katrin Davidsdottir in the East. That 4th woman, Amanda Barnhart. And what impressed me most for a rookie is that all 3 came in the back half of the competition, is how she closed. It's not uncommon to see rookies at the Games catapult themselves up early on and then slowly start to fade as the gravity of the weekend weighs pretty heavy on them because the Games are a whole different beast as well. But she does have some pieces to her fitness that I think really helps her stand out. She's a collegiate swimmer, a Division I swimmer. That's certainly going to benefit her at the Games. She's a track and field background, so she's a good runner as well. And it reminds me of a few other rookies that were able to get into the top 10 with similar skill sets. Anna Tobias in 2013, Tia Toomey in 2015, Christy Aramo in 2016, all of whom did really well in some of the endurance events and the swimming events and set themselves up nicely so far in their careers.
And that smile too.
Mm-hmm.
At least
Totally.
she looks like she's having fun, which
Yeah.
I love about her. So I'm going to go for the international element, and what I love about Laura Horvath is that she does speak to that. She's going to be the 2nd Hungarian ever to qualify as an individual. We've had 1 male previously. And I saw her 2 years ago as a 19-year-old in the Meridian region. Sean called it. He was like, man, you got to watch this girl, got to watch this girl. After 2 years, I'm not going to lie, I gave up on her. She wasn't one of my picks. This year she comes out, she's ahead of Sarah Sigmundsdottir in the overall standings, just breathing down the neck of Annie Thorisdottir, 2nd place in a highly competitive Europe region. And here's why I like her and why if you're playing Reebok Pick'em, which you should be, that you should put her into your top 10, is because when she gets to Madison, you know that we see things that are off the radar, outside the gym. She has a rock climbing background, she's done some cycling, some trekking, so I think that plays really well for her as well. She's an all-around athlete, and she's young. So we're not just talking about her rookie year. As far as I'm concerned, she is the future superpower in Europe. You'd be hearing her name a lot for years to come.
You mentioned Reebok Pick'em. If you haven't already, head to Reebok.com/Pick'em. You pick your top 10 men, your top 10 women, and your top 5 teams. If you get all 25 correct in the exact order in which they end up finishing, you will win $2 million. No one nailed it last year. The pot was $1 million. They have now doubled it this year, $2 million. Reebok.com/Pick'em. It closes on July 31st. Tickets are still available for the 2018 Reebok CrossFit Games. Go to games.crossfit.com for more information on those. And if you need a place to stay while you are in Madison, Wisconsin, we have you covered there as well. You can go to CrossFitHotels.com and find a place for you to keep your stuff and to sleep while you are not at the Alliant Energy Center watching the 2018 Reebok CrossFit Games. That is going to do it for us for today. For Tommy and Ro, I'm Sean. Next week, we will release our picks for the Reebok Pick'em competition. Let's get this thing going. We will see you guys in Madison, Wisconsin for the 2018 Reebok CrossFit Games.